What is up guys, Andy Forrester Dean Runner here. Welcome back to another video, and today I'm giving you guys my first impressions of the Asics Gel-Cumulus 25. So genuinely excited to share with you guys my thoughts on the Asics Gel-Cumulus 25 today. 3 runs in it so far and really enjoying it. I'm excited to share how I've used it, give you a bit of a technical overview, and then of course give you guys my first impressions of the shoe so far. Quick disclaimer before we go any further. This pair of shoes have been sent to me by Sports Shoes and Gifter, a marketing company. However, neither of them have any editorial control over this video. They certainly don't know my thoughts, and they won't see anything before you guys get to see it here on YouTube, but I do want to extend a thanks to them for sending me this shoe to test out. So without further ado, we're going to dive straight into this and I'll share with you how I've tested it. So these ended up being delivered right before I went on holiday, so they had to wait until I got home, and as soon as I got home I laced them up and took them out first of all for a 50-minute easy run. So I was testing them at nice easy paces and they felt fantastic. Flight foam blast in this shoe. I love the midsole. It was just so comfortable, so cushioned, so responsive. What you put in, you get out with this shoe. Same as anything really that uses Flight Foam at Blast Plus. So then I was excited to test it on a moderate run the next day. So I then took it out for a 50-minute moderate run, zone 2, with some strides at the end. And I was kind of like, this feels really good and it's working well for me, but I don't know if it's fatigue or just the sluggishness of coming back off holiday, but I can't seem to get up to pace, if that makes sense. I can't seem to really go through the gears like I want to. I kind of wanted to give it another shot, so I waited till this week, gave it another moderate run, which I've just completed today, 60 minutes, and ended up feeling really good and hitting the paces that I wanted to. And despite it being a bit warm, I've got to say it was an extremely enjoyable moderate run. So let's now whiz through some of the stats, give you a bit of a technical overview. We'll start off by saying I went true to size in this shoe, UK size 13, perfect, fits fine. 8mm heel to toe drop. This is a max cushion shoe, 37.5mm of stack in the heel, 29.5 in the forefoot, and in my UK size 13 it comes in at 352 grams or 12.4 ounces. And as always, we'll work away from the heel counter, talk about the ankle collar, tongue, lacing, upper, midsole and outsole. Now what I am going to say is this is an engineered mesh upper that runs all the way around, and what you'll notice as we go through this shoe is this was very reminiscent of me testing Asics shoes years ago when everything was very plush and very comfortable. We got a lot of cushioning in and around the heel counter area here. It really is all about comfort, this shoe, and I've got to say it delivers in abundance. If you're looking for something that's going to give you a super comfortable ride, but actually you can go through the gears a little bit, this is definitely one to consider. Lovely cut under the ankle bone, so that sits nicely in this big cushion padding around here. Just cradles your foot basically. It feels really good. Some good structure in the heel counter there, so that doesn't move, and everything back here feels really good. They've got a premium tongue is what they label it as, quite a puffy tongue. In a lot of reviews I say it's not paper thin, it's not really puffy, it's somewhere in the middle. This borders on quite puffy, quite comfortable, and if I remember rightly, yep, it is indeed gusseted, so it attaches on the inside and the outside of the shoe, hugging over the top of your foot. They talk about an adaptive fit with this shoe. That's what the marketing wording is. And for me, basically what that means, and for me and you really, it just means that it hugs your foot. It basically, when you put your foot in there, it wraps around the top of your foot, and it does that really well. And that's a combination of the way the upper is engineered with the gusseted tongue, the way you can lace it all down. It sits over nicely. Talk about it a lot in Saucony shoes. I think the way they fit their shoes is wonderful, really hugs your foot. And this does an extremely similar job, and it gets a big thumbs up for that. In terms of the lacing's great. We've got the Gusted Tongue Plus, a bit of fabric on the tongue where you can weave your laces through just to make sure the tongue doesn't slide left to right. And the lacing system is a pretty standard one. And of course, we always have the extra eyelet hole at the top. Laces did come undone in my second run. As I was going for that moderate run, about 20 minutes in, they just completely came undone. And then once I cinched them up again, they were absolutely fine, and I didn't have that issue on this third run today. So not sure what happened there. Had exactly the same on the Brooks Ghost 15 the other week. Laces, they're okay, a little bit stretchy. There's not a lot of texture to them. When you get them locked down, they're all right. I think what they rely on here is the shoe giving you that adaptive fit and comfort, so it wraps over the top of your foot nicely. To get that secure fit, the laces kind of add to that. They have kind of come a little bit loose. I haven't undone these since my run. I just slipped my foot out, but they were a lot more tighter when I started. But again, over time with shoes, you know, you get the lockdown a bit more cinched in and everything feels fine, so hopefully the laces won't be too much of an issue there. As I talked about, engineered mesh upper all the way around, breathable in the toe box there. As you can see, there's some holes in the top of the mesh, but around the back half and the mid section here, a little bit thicker with some overlays of the Asics logo medially and laterally, but in the toe box, nice and well ventilated. And I'm going to say it's a roomy shoe. There's a good amount of material on the top here to allow your foot. It's certainly not narrow, and it's certainly not shallow either. There's a good amount of material, so if you have a higher volume foot or a slightly wider foot, this will work really well. It does for me anyway. Midsole, I've just mentioned it, full length Flight Foam Blast Plus with a pure gel unit in the rear, so their lightest formula of gel that they've used. I haven't tested an Asics shoe with gel in for ages, but because I'm sort of a I'm not a forefoot runner, because I'm a midfoot runner, I don't really strike back here, so I didn't notice it that much. I did force myself to roll back onto the heel for a few strides, and it does feel really, really super comfortable and cushioned. So for heel strikers, that would be a wonderful thing. For me, I didn't really notice it that much. I was just enjoying the Flight Foam Blast Plus too much. Just a wonderful midsole. You know the drill with it. It's just incredible. And that runs full length of the shoe, and you've got a big wedge of it there as well. Then we've got the AHA Rubber Plus on the outsole, which stands for Asics High Abrasion Rubber? Is that the last word? I can't remember. I tried to roll that off the tongue then and I totally forgot. Asics High Abrasion Rubber, I think it is. And that covers the high wearing areas, the front and the back of the shoe. And then of course, as you can see there, there's also some exposed midsole that runs quite a lot. And as you can see with this shoe, we have a chunky platform here. We have a wide landing base. Definitely the way that shoes are trending these days, giving you a wider base, land a bit more stable, give that stability without being a stability shoe. Just means that you've got a wider platform. It's not narrow, it's not as wobbly when you're landing, and yeah, as I said, it just gives that little bit of extra stability when you're rolling through the gait cycle. And that is it for the tech. So let's get into my first impressions. How did I find this shoe? Well, I mentioned that I tested it on 3 separate occasions, so I feel like I've got some good knowledge now coming into this review with my thoughts on it. Never tested a Gel-Cumulus before. I gather it's had a bit of a makeover from previous versions, and this is really an enjoyable, genuinely excitable shoe. From a max cushion shoe, this thing really can shift. Now, I've got quite a few shoes at the moment with a 35mm plus stack height in the heel, and realistically, when you get sort of like 35, 36, 37, you really are talking max cushion, and this certainly feels it. Everything about this shoe is bulky in terms of the wide platform, the big chunk of stack, the cushion, everything is geared up here for plush comfort. Yet apparently it shedded weight from the previous version, which I'm all for, and for me, in the group of trainers that I'm testing at the moment, this really does fall to the mid to the lower end of the section in the weight, and with that Flight Foam Blast in it, what I always say with Flight Foam Blast and a lot of responsive midsoles is what you put in, you get out with this shoe. It really does bounce you along. And what I love about this shoe, and what the only thing I can criticize the Nova Blast for, is that when I run in the Nova Blast a little bit too much, I can often suffer with knee pain, and I can find it to be a tiny bit unstable on occasions. Most of the time it's fine, but I remember picking it up earlier this year at 200 miles or 220, pushing it to 300 miles. When I was getting close to 300 and just over, I noticed my knee was really hurting. As soon as I cut the Nova Blast out of my rotation, that completely disappeared. And I had a suspicion because I was watching footage of me running back and noticing that my foot was kind of wobbling a little bit as I was landing and my knee didn't look so supported. So what this thing gives me is that comfort, the Flight Foam Blast comfort, with a wider platform, a bigger package, a lot heavier than the Nova Blast, but a wider platform. But something that can still shift, something that can still move. So for me, it was really, really enjoyable, and I love the moderate running, to the point where I think to myself this morning, when I went to grab a shoe for a moderate run, I thought, well, I'm going to record my thoughts on this today. I was a little bit cheesed off with the first moderate run I did, A, because the lace came undone, but B, because it felt really good. But I just didn't have that oomph in me, whatever it was that day, post-holiday, a bit sluggish, who knows. I thought, this feels good, but I can go quicker. And today I cruised much better, much quicker, same sort of effort level, maybe a tiny bit more effort, but overall it felt so good. So yeah, overall for a max cushion shoe, I've got to say you'd be picking up something here if you grabbed it that will do zone 1 and zone 2 work quite comfortably, easy and steady running, moderate running, whatever you want to call it. And I certainly wouldn't be averse to doing strides in it. I've done strides already in it and it worked really well. So yeah, it's not a marathon pace workout shoe. It's not anything more than zone 1 and zone 2, but what it does really, really well. And for me, when I do a lot of running, I do a mix of 1 and 2, probably more 2 than 1. And so when I look to daily trainers and max cushion shoes, I am kind of looking for something that isn't just a plodder. A plodder for me in my rotation doesn't really work just for the style of running that I do. And so when I can pick up something like this that can do both of them, it's just a Brucey bonus. So there we go. Those are my thoughts on the Asics Gel-Cumulus 25. A super shoe, really enjoyable, really grateful to have been sent this one, and really grateful to test an Asics shoe that's not a Magic Speed or a Nova Blast, because if my memory serves me right, bar trail shoes of Asics, I haven't tested anything other than a Nova Blast or a Magic Speed probably for 3 or 4 years now. So this is really nice to get into another one of their lineups, and I would not hesitate to recommend this one to a lot of people out there. Direct competition, as I said, Puma Forever and Nitro, Magnify Nitro 2, definitely those two come to mind, and instantly, I'm going to be honest with you, I think I prefer this one already, just because of the way it fits, the way it rolls, how I can pick up the pace in it. It's definitely right up there for me. So there we go. Anyway, I won't waffle on anymore. Those are my thoughts on the Asics Gel-Cumulus 25. Love to hear what you guys think of this shoe. It's been out since April, so I'm sure a lot of you have gotten plenty more miles in it than I have. If you have, drop a comment, let people know how durability is, how you're finding it, what you use it for, and is it something that you really, really enjoy gravitating towards in your rotation. If you enjoyed today's video, guys, make sure you give it a like, share it with your friends, and of course, do consider subscribing to the channel for weekly running content. I'll see you in the next one. Until then.